everyone, and welcome to the Audacious Hot Seat. It's so exciting to see you here, and also to have our very special guest, the lovely LeeAnne Nordin from Furtastic Friends by Bocchetta. It's wonderful to have you on the show, LeeAnne. I wonder if you could introduce yourself and tell people a little bit who you are and a little bit about your business and how you got started.
Thank you, Lauren. It's lovely to be here. I'm LeeAnne, and we design, retail, wholesale, our own range of realistic plush companions. So that's the business, what we do, and we love to make them really friendly, and we do them more, I would say, more for adults to be companions for life.
I love it. And I can see a couple of beautiful companions behind you, and they really are very lifelike, aren't they? They almost look like they're about to move. They're sitting there watching this interview with great interest, and they really have been amazing. I know your story quite well, but you didn't always start out with these beautiful Furtastic friends, did you, LeeAnne? Where did you come from, and why did you get started in that business?
I came from Botswana. I lived in Botswana, originally South Africa, and then I lived in Botswana for 20 years. So I ran businesses there, which was really challenging. And life was good, but I had to send my son to another country for high school, and that was really too difficult. And it was time for my daughter to go to high school. And so we thought, well, we could go back to South Africa, or we could try something new. And we decided to come to Australia. We came in on a business visa, so we had to buy a business, and we looked at about probably 16 wholesale businesses. This is the first one I looked at, and this is the one I fought for.
So you fell in love with your Furtastic friends a long time ago.
Absolutely, totally loved it.
Brilliant. Now, the business you've got now, though, is quite different to the one you used to have, the one that you bought. Tell us a little bit about your journey owning the company.
Yes, that's correct. We were, before COVID, we were 70% souvenirs. That was really the bulk of the business. And of course, with COVID, we lost most of that market. In fact, I still have a warehouse full of koalas because that was a very big part of my market. And so we moved towards more for comfort, and I got the business NDIS registered. And we're working now more with aged care. So that is, I was very, very privileged to sign up with the Audacious agency, and we rebranded. And I think that was where the journey really started. The Audacious agency had a look at our old branding, which was blue and teddy bears, and that really wasn't what we were. And so working with them, we re-looked at our colors, our brands, our font, the whole way we market, because in fact we were selling more to adults than children. And so that is where we've moved to.
Yeah, nice. I love the fact that you've pivoted so well with what's happened to the entire industry in terms of travel and so on. So for those who are listening, when you've got a situation where your entire audience basically disappears overnight. So we talk about the travel industry and how badly it was hit by the pandemic, and the flow-on effect that has affected so many industries, and yours was one of those. So as you say, I'm sure anyone who's listening who's been to Australia as a tourist may well have a Bocchetta toy. If they go and have a look at the label, they might find that the kangaroo or koala that they picked up on their journeys as a souvenir to take with them may well have come from Bocchetta. But that brand name was a long-term brand name, LeeAnne. It was a family name that had been around for many years. When was the business established?
The business was started in 1948. It was started in Italy. And so part of our rebranding was to get a new name, and we are now trademarked as Furtastic Friends, and we've kept Furtastic Friends by Bocchetta. We still have the history of the Bocchetta, but that name is really difficult to spell and to say. So that's why we've made it a little bit more friendly.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great lesson for people. Rebranding's not an easy journey, is it? So tell us a little bit about the challenges that you've had when it came to deciding what to do with your brand and how to, I guess, adapt to what happened in COVID. You're saying you're already selling to adults, but what were some of the things that really concerned you about rebranding that business?
I think losing the legacy that we had attached, because we were quite a well-known brand already. And I still haven't had the courage to lose the Bocchetta completely. And I don't know if I ever will, because I love the history of it. I love the fact that our toys are timeless, so that I'll probably keep that, but it was really scary to change the logo, to change the colors. We working with Audacious, we changed the entire website, and I'm absolutely loving it now. My big thing was, because I'm predominantly a wholesaler, was to start a retail aspect of the business, and I was scared that I would scare my wholesalers away. So that was really challenging. I think I've moved now. I've started shops on Instagram and on Facebook. I've changed my whole live posting, and that was really challenging as well, because I'm not used to being out there and telling the stories and putting myself out there and going for interviews and things like that. So a lot of those have been very challenging.
Well, well done. It is scary to put yourself out of your comfort zone and to be the face of the business. I love the fact that this Bocchetta, that's been around since, you know, the 1940s, has now become an endorsing brand for your business. It's like it's by a company that's got that credibility and that resilience and that ability to be around for so long, just endorsing the fact that you've now got Furtastic Friends and they've become more companions than toys. So that's really lovely. So one of the big challenges, and I love the fact that hopefully this is giving some encouragement to anyone who's listening who's thinking about rebranding, because it is a scary process.
Yeah.
You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as the saying goes, but also you want to make sure you're appealing to your audience and you're connecting with them as well. So when you started your business, what did you think your big goals for business were back then, thinking back to when you first took over the business? And how has that changed for your goals today?
I think the big goals was just learning the business, first of all, because it was something totally different. But I think it was just trying to make the financial goals. And I think that's kind of all I was trying to do. And now it's so different. Now we're just loving the designing, and I'm loving the stories, and I'm loving, and my biggest passion at the moment is to get into the aged care. We have had the most incredible stories, and we've seen the most beautiful things happen when dementia patients have our pets. When particularly we're gearing now for people who don't have access to live pets. So it's people in home care, in palliative care, in apartments, or where they're too old to take on a new pet, and they really do get a lot of comfort from the pets. And that's been an amazing journey, and I think that's where we're going now, is to just really love the business.
Brilliant. It's very meaningful what you're doing, and that obviously that passion for helping others comes through in what you're doing. And the interesting thing is that there's a growing need for that companionship and that compassion, especially with an aging population. And of course, with COVID, meaning that we are, you know, really kept apart from some of the people that we want to be around. Yeah. So the timing, in reality, the timing was quite good. If you look, I know it's been a struggle and it's been a real challenge, but if you look back on the timing, it's actually worked out very well.
Oh, it's been amazing. The other thing we did was register with NDIS, which is the National Disability Insurance Scheme, so that our kids, our toys are more accessible to people people with mental health issues. And I don't think I would have done any of this if I hadn't had the challenge of COVID. I think I would have just stuck on and maybe designed a few more koalas. And I definitely think that COVID has helped to come out as a stronger business and a stronger person.
I love it. That's a great, when you think back to, you know, almost overnight losing 70% of your customers to where you are now. If you could go back to yourself back at that time, what would you tell yourself?
Not to be so overwhelmed and not to think that the brand has to be done in one day. I think that was my biggest. I just wanted to do everything and fix everything, and I was in absolute panic mode. I think I worked 16 to 20 hours a day, downloading every tutorial, trying to understand what funnels were and all sorts of stuff. And if only I'd known that you just have to take step by step, lay those breadcrumbs bit by bit by bit. And it does change. It does happen. You just have to keep reinventing yourself. I think that was also just to have the courage to know that it's not the end of the world if one thing doesn't work. Just try something else.
I love it. Yeah, those time pressures and the overwhelm can kill so many businesses, and it does take a lot longer than we expect, doesn't it? Always.
Yeah, it really does. It certainly does. But the interesting thing is now, a couple of things that I did last year, I'm seeing the benefits now, where I donated a toy and I suddenly get a photograph months and months later. So yes, everything you do, you can't expect immediate results. You just have to trust in the process.
I love it. That is such a good message, that look, it's not instant. There's no such thing as overnight success, but it's a process and it'll work. Listen, if you are just tuning in, you are at the hot seat, the Audacious Agency hot seat, with the fabulous LeeAnne Nordin from Furtastic Friends by Bocchetta. And we are on YouTube, if you want to find us on there, and wherever you find your favorite podcasts. So go and check out our YouTube channel and find more episodes like this. LeeAnne, if you had a lesson for people in business based on what's happened with your business and the challenges that you've faced, what's the number one thing you think that businesses should focus on?
I think to keep moving. I think you need to believe that your business is a moving animal, and you need to be confident enough to reinvent that business every day. You cannot become complacent. And I think not to ever give up hope. There are so many different things to try. There's so many different social media platforms. There are so many different ways to market yourself. As long as you've got a good product, just believe and try and keep trying. There's different ways, there's different shops, there's different marketing methods, and use the expertise that's out there. I think that is probably one of my biggest learnings, is bring in people who can help you with every little small aspect. I brought in the Audacious to help me with the branding. I then brought in somebody else to help me build my website. I got somebody else to show me how to set up my Instagram. So use the experts out there, because it really does pay dividends.
It is interesting, isn't it? As a business owner, often you're sort of expected that you know these things and you should know how to do marketing and so on.
Not at all.
It's all going to be learned from somewhere, well, or at least understood, so that you can brief somebody to do the work for you. So what are some of the things that you're really proud of achieving, LeeAnne, over the last couple of years since you've had this business?
I think that I've managed to stay in and I've stayed positive. I think that I've just learned to love the business, that I've turned it from a business into a passion.
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely. Because quite often it is a little bit like raising a baby, isn't it? That you need to learn to love it and let it go into the world. And you obviously have so much joy from, designing the product itself. So you're more hands-on than you would have normally have been in this business as well.
Totally. My husband does the design work. I do very little on that. That's really his field of expertise, but I do everything else in the running, operations, marketing, and yeah.
Brilliant. And what I love about it is that, as you say, the stories that come back from each of these amazing Furtastic friends that go out there, and they get taken all over the place and photographed and loved to death and all those sorts of things, which is wonderful. Where do you see your business going from here, LeeAnne? What are some of your goals for the future?
My goals is to really get into aged care. I would really love the stigma to be removed from old people owning toys. We see the comfort time and time again. We have a beautiful lady who's brought here by her son, who's been looking after her for 9 years, and he was told to get a real pet, and he said, well, he can't cope with anything more, and so he bought the toys. And the change in her communication, she talks to them, she watches concerts with them, and that's where I'd like to go. I would love to be in all aged care facilities and providing comfort across that market, in addition to keeping the other parts of the business going. But that's really where I'm wanting to grow.
Be obviously a great place, and in reality so achievable. It can be done. I mean, there's a real focus on aging well in place, and mental health and all those sorts of things. So hopefully the decision makers in these areas will make the right decisions and help you to do that. I love it. So you mentioned before one of your real challenges is, stepping out and talking about this as a business and being the front person for the business owner. And of course, getting yourself into those aged care facilities is going to take you stepping out of your comfort zone and doing that. Do you think you're now a little bit more confident because you've got a great brand behind you to be able to go and present your opportunities to these places and to talk to the media?
Yes, I think so. I think one has to pay one's school fees. I did a lot of donations, and I've been speaking to a lot of people, and I've got a lot of case studies. So, and I think that's what every business needs to do. You can't just go out there unless you're credible. I got the NDIS registration, and I'm trying to, as per the recommendations from the Audacious agency who helped me with the branding, was to get the testimonials from the professionals. But you can't just go out there and get them. You have to prove it. And I'm only now starting to get the odd testimonial from a wellbeing officer at an aged care facility, or I have got my products in at a occupational therapist that deals with ASPE kids. And so now those testimonials are coming through. So I think you have to pay your school fees.
Yeah, you've got to take that time. And it's interesting because one of the things I know you did very early on was you built a lovely database, and you just decided, look, this is the, here's the aged care facilities, here's the people who are the decision makers. And it's not that you're going to ring up the phone, pick up a phone and talk to someone that day and get a yes and an order. As you say, it takes a lot longer to build those relationships.
Yes, it certainly does. And I think for me, it was also to find the right social media platform. I've done very pretty pictures on Instagram and Pinterest, and I've now attached the shop, so they may generate the sales, but that's not my market. I think having set up the LinkedIn properly, and having set up the LinkedIn as professional, and only posting relevant posts to LinkedIn. And I think that's where my new market is hanging out. So I think it takes time to find out how to gear and how to present yourself to that market.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you use those testimonials and things in those sorts of platforms as well, and show that there's been a benefit to aged care having this service available?
Yes, and only now that I've actually started to generate those can I start using the LinkedIn to my benefit. So
yeah,
yes,
chicken versus the egg, isn't it? Really, really difficult. Chicken versus the egg. So I guess one of the big lessons is persistence, isn't it? Have a goal, but just persistently going after it.
Absolutely. I think I try 3 or 4 different marketing methods every day. I try different things. And then it's a different newsletter, and it's a different special, and it's a different offer, and it's a different platform, and it's a different angle. Maybe I need to be a bit more focused, but I think I just threw everything I could at first for this first year since COVID, but I will hone it a bit more.
But it's not because you're, like you say, you've got to pay your school fees. You're doing those things, and it will take time and come back to you. So do you have any last final guidance or wishes or thoughts for people who might be listening to this, who are in business and they've had to change the way they're doing things, about what they should be doing or shouldn't be doing in business, and giving them some encouragement?
I think, as I've said before, just persist and just be brave and just trust, and do not be, keep going even when you get things that don't work, because there are things that work. You just have to find them.
Yeah, it's that Edison movement, isn't it? 10,000 ways to not make a light bulb. There's, you've got to put yourself through the things that don't work to get to the things that do. So, brilliant. Absolutely. LeeAnne, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you today. Thank you so much for being in our hot seat. If you want to know more about LeeAnne or the fabulous Furtastic Friends by Bocchetta, the links are underneath the interview here. Please go and check it out. And if you have someone that you know who's in aged care or with dementia, or would really love a lovable companion from Furtastic Friends, please get in touch and have a look at the amazing range of incredible companions that they have. Thank you so much, LeeAnne. It's been such a pleasure talking with you, and I look forward to seeing you around the place doing some amazing things and hearing more of those fabulous stories.
Thank you, and thank you so much for all the help, and thank you for having me on here, putting me way out of my comfort zone. But thank you so much.